The fine art of small talk, how to start a conversation, keep it going, build networking skills, and leave a positive impression. By Deborah Fine and read by Avicenna. 1. What's the big deal about small talk? You pull into the parking lot, turn off the engine, and sit for a minute reading the next 2 hours. An important client has invited you to an open house in celebration of their new downtown office. You hate these things. You don't know what to say, you don't know anyone except the client, and you always feel like you are trying not to look lost. So you eat and drink more than you should just to stay occupied. You must attend, that's a given. But you sink deeper into the front seat and agonize over how long you have to stay. Will dropping by for 30 minutes do the trick? Or will you insult one of your best clients if you don't stay for the whole event? You search for excuses to get yourself out of there early. You could have someone page you at a specified time with a supposed emergency. Perhaps one of the kids has a big game, or maybe you will just allow your anxiety to carry you right into an illness. Casual conversation happens at least a dozen times a day. On the way into the office, picking up your daughter from soccer practice, riding the elevator with the college, fielding a phone call from your mother-in-law, attending an industry meeting, taking a client to lunch, going to a job interview, the list is endless. Yet for some of us, this demand for small talk do not ever make small talk any easier. If anything, such encounters increase anxiety and cause some people to dread social events, business launches, and change encounter with the neighbors. Unfortunately, in our preoccupation with our own discomfort, our neighbors, acquaintances, and associates label us distant, cold, reserved. Remember Thornton Wilder's play or taunt on the morning of his son's wedding, Frank Gibbs. The neighborly physician confessed to his wife that his chief concern in the early days of their own marriage was how to make a small talk with his bride. I was afraid, he tells her, we wouldn't have material for conversation more and last us a few weeks. It seems acquiring small talk skills is not exclusively a modern day quest. If your conversation evaporates almost as soon as they have begun, or if you are a reluctant participant at a social and business get-togetherness, you have come to the right place. This book will help you acquire the conversation skill you need to feel confident and poised in any situation. If you practice the simple techniques revealed here, you will put your conversational demons behind you. You will learn how to engage any individual in a meaningful dialogue, resuscitate a dying conversation, transition into a new topic, feel more at ease at networking, event parties and receptions, develop business friendship, step out of a conversation with grace. Getting to the big stuff. Small talk has a bad rap as the lowly stepchild of a real conversation, yet it serves an extremely important function. Without it, you rarely get to the real conversation. Small talk is an icebreaker that clears the way for more intimate conversation, laying the foundation for a stronger relationship. People who excel at small talk are expert at making others feel included, valued, and comfortable. And that goes a long way toward furthering a business relationship, closing a deal, opening the door for romance, or making a friend. The good news about conversation skill is that anyone can learn them. Do not be fooled into thinking that all those other people you see who are smiling and happily mingling come by and eat naturally. Sure, some are natural born talkers, but some must have had to work at it. They have practiced, attended seminars, hired personal coaches, and read the books. You don't think so? Trust me, I know. I used to be a geeky, introverted engineer. No one has worse skills than I once did. And I began prayer by learning this skill and then practicing them. It's that simple. The first step is to let go of the idea that we are all somehow supposed to know how to converse with strangers and acquaintances. It's simply not true. We are not taught how to do it, nor Is there some biological mechanism that instinctively takes over when we find ourselves in a conversational quandary? Mark McCormack, an attorney from Cleveland who founded one of the first sport management firms in the United States, once said, "All things being equal, people will buy from a friend. All things being not quite so equal, people will still buy from a friend." The bottom line, it's to your benefit to cultivate friendship, not just collect business cards. The Art of Conversation is poised to enjoy a revival. 20 years ago, John Naisbitt, in his book Megatrends, spoke to a future world focused on high-tech yet longing for high-touch. This high-tech world would place us farther away from our nuclear families, communicating with our colleagues and friends via texts, emails, and cell phones, rather than face-to-face. Yeah, it happens now. Driving in and out of our homes via the garage door opener without any interaction with our neighbors, our new way of living, working, commuting would create a void of connection with others. Today, we find ourselves exactly as Nesbitt forecasted, isolated in our niche cubicle or lifestyle. Membership in civic, religious, business association and organization has declined because we have lost the ability to connect. Yet because of the event of September 11, 2001, not only do we Americans share a common experience of a great magnitude, but now, more than ever, we long to communicate with each other about terrorism, war, sometimes anything but terrorism and war. When a pilot has to instruct his passengers departing Denver International Airport on the weekend following September 11 to introduce themselves and learn about each other, then we have truly lost the art of conversation. It has become our custom to be so respectful of each other's space, or instead so fearful of rejection, that we no longer know how to begin a conversation with strangers and let alone keep on going. Yet because of the longing for high touch combined with the need for reaching out because of our shared national tragedy, the art of conversation will bloom. We become better conversationalists when we employ two primary objectives. Number one, take the risk. It is up to us to take the risk of starting a conversation with a stranger. We cannot hope that others will approach us. Instead, even if we are shy, it is up to us to make the first move. We all fear rejection at some level. Just remind yourself that there are more dire consequences in life than a rejection by someone at a networking event, singles function, back to school night, or associating meeting. Number two, assume the burden. It is up to each and every one of us to assume the burden of the conversation. It is our responsibility to come up with topics to discuss. It is up to us to remember people's names and to introduce them to others, and it is up to us to relieve the awkward moments or fill the pregnant pause. Most of us hope others will assume this task. It is up to us to assume the burden of other people's comfort. If others are comfortable in our presence, then they will feel good about doing business or socializing with us. Talk is cheap, but very valuable. Small talk is essential to creating and enriching business relationship. Always begin and end your business conversation with a small talk to humanize the relationship. Investors choose financial planners as much for their ability to make them feel secure and comfortable as they do for their financially savvy. How important is your physician's bedside manner to you? Hairstylists are consummate conversationalists. They understand that no woman will spend the better part of an hour or more sitting in a chair at the mercy of someone with a sharp instrument unless she feels comfortable. In an indirect but very important way, small talk relates to how businesses and individuals spend money. In general, people in an organization spend money for two reasons: to solve a problem or fill a need. Think about it. You dash into a fast food restaurant for lunch so you can spare yourself from picking leftovers. You hire a babysitter so you can escape from an evening out. You pay a lawn care company to cut your grass so you can enjoy more free time and fewer allergy symptoms. To gain good, positive feeling. My neighbor Susan continued banking within the same institution even though another bank is in our neighborhood, however, is a better free checking deal because he likes the people. My friend Vince moved to the opposite side of town and still drives back to the old neighborhood to take his dog to the vet. Although he and the vet do not social together, he cannot imagine going anywhere else. He likes that particular vet. A good conversationalist frequently evokes the positive feeling that people long to have. And the reality is that buyers' choices about where they spend their money are influenced by the presence of or absence of rapport. Small talk is a big deal because it is integral to ask the policing report, parents and teachers visit before a conference to create a bond. Mortgage brokers chat with the referral sources little like a title companies and realtors to strengthen the relationship and garner business. Even a minimal amount of pleasant small talk will make prospective customer remember you better than they remember your competitor. It's a tough and fast world. The news media provides more bad news than good. People appreciate a conversation in which they feel acknowledged, heard, and significant. While it's understood that people seek this benefit in conversation with friends, it's also true that people choose to buy goods and services from individuals perceived as warm, friendly, and caring, from the senior executive of a large corporation selecting a supplier to a parent picking up a few groceries to the account executive calling a courier. Buying decisions are all influenced by the rapport that has been established with the other party. Garner begins with a little talking. Effective managers use small talk at the front end of a meeting to set a tone for discussion and to create a bridge to more meaningful and perhaps difficult to launch casual conversation and informal icebreakers our opportunity to build rapport, create a cohesive team, and increase the chance of success. By developing your conversation skills, you can even improve communication with your children. You will reorganize the most repeated question in parenting: how is school as a conversation killer? You can avoid the usual one-word response, find, and instead create a dialogue. Imagine you may actually gain insight into what they are learning and who their friends are. Small talk is not a small thing. It's a valuable personal and professional trait that connect people. Appreciating the power of small talk is the first step. By recognizing its value, you will be more inclined to acquire the skill. If you thought small talk was all about becoming a smooth talking, a used car salesperson, you are mistaken. Small talk is a verbal equivalent of that first domino. It starts a chain reaction with all kind of implication for your life. This book is filled with technique and hints to give you the skill to enjoy the perfect quality conversation. You won't necessarily decide that you love networking event or cocktail party, but you will have the skill to be successful at them. Like me, you may still prefer to stay at home with a good book rather than attend an event where you don't know anyone, and there is no denying that it takes effort to mingle at an open house when the room is full of strangers. However, there is also no denying that there are plenty of events we are expected to attend, so it makes sense to maximize your opportunities, and improve conversation skill will do just that. By the time you finish this book, you will have the information and resources at your disposal to make you successful conversationalist at any function. Improving your conversation skill can enhance your leadership ability, reduce your anxiety in social situations, boost your confidence, lead you to new friendship and more. Before you know it, you might actually enjoy making small talk. Number 2, get over your mom's good intentions. It's no wonder so many of us lack adequate conversation skills. Some of our oldest memories still haunt and influence us as adults. Because of our earliest training, we are predisposed to refrain from initiating a conversation when we were impressionable toddlers. Our parents taught us. Good things come to those who wait. Silence is golden. Wait to be properly introduced. Don't talk to stranger. Those messages serve us well as kids. and the advice helped ensure our safety and taught us manner. But now, as adults, our safety is not at stake with every new person we meet, and by now our manners are well established. The time that has come to replace these old messages with more relevant advice. Here it is. In safe situations, make it a point to talk to strangers. To expand your circle of friends in colleges, you must start engaging stranger acquaintances in conversation. There is no other way. Strangers have the potential to become good friends, long-term clients, valued associates, and bridges to new experiences and other people. Start thinking of strangers as people who can bring new dimensions to your life, not as a person to be feared. Introduce yourself. When was the last time someone properly introduced you to another person? The truth is that the host of a gathering rarely takes the time to do so in a meaningful way. You have been to this kind of event. You go to a holiday open house hosted by an important client, and the client greets you, takes your coat, visits you for a minute, and show you to the food. Your client departs to greet other guests, and you are left standing next to the stream cocktail, not knowing a single person in the room. If you wait for the host to come back and properly introduce you to some of the other guests, chances are your only new encounter will be the stream. Times have changed. People expect you to mingle on your own, introduce yourself, and take the initiative to get acquainted. As the Bab Truth saith, don't let the fear of striking out get in your way. Remember, even your closest confidante was once a stranger. Take the risk. Walk up to someone and introduce yourself. Extend your hand, making eye contact, and smile, saying, "Hello, my name is Daphne. It's nice to meet you. If you are a member of an association, chamber of commerce, fraternity of sorority, church or synagogue, you are probably aware of this organization's constant challenge of retaining membership. We join such an organization seeking out fellowship. We often leave it or quit because we don't find it. Instead, we perceive others as a member of group or clique that one let us join. I think most of us can relate to the following poem author, unknown. Thoughts from a new member. I see you at the meetings, but you never say hello. You're busy all the time you're there, with those you really know. I sit among the members, yet I'm lonely gal. The new ones feel as a stranger as I. The old ones pass us by. Darn it, you folks, you urge us to join and talk of fellowship. You could just cross the room, but you never make the trip. Can you just nod your head and smile, or stop and shake a hand? Then go sit among your friends. Know that I would understand. I will be at your next meeting, and hope that you will spend the time to introduce yourself. I join to be your friend. At your next opportunity to spend time at the reception, coffee break, hospitality suite, or wedding, look around the room, find an approachable person, and include him or her in conversation. Chances are that person is feeling as alone as you are. Silence is impolite. Spare yourself some pain and forget the adage that is still silence is golden. I first recognized the downside of silence when I was working as an engineer side by side with a peer who had the same academic credential, tenure, and work quality. We were considered equals in every sense of the word. However, my colleague was outgoing and conversational. Staff members in marketing, human resources, and quality control knew her name. As state executive at corporate headquarters, our immediate supervisor noticed her and commented frequently on her work. When the time came for a promotion, she got it and I didn't. I simply was not as visible because I was so silent. I later learned another costly lesson about silence. My friend Johnny, a regional director with a Fortune 100 company, dragged me to all her company functions. Her boss, Bob, a senior vice president, attended this function too. I admire his poise and grace as he easily conversed with everyone. Bob's self-confidence intimidated me so much that I really rarely talk with him, despite my respect for him. Even when he approached me, I was too nervous to say much. When I moved into engineering sales, I called to reintroduce myself and promote my employer's services before I could even finish introducing myself. Bob blasted me, saying, "I can't believe that you're calling me. We have been at the same parties a dozen times, and you have ignored me at everyone. You are the biggest snob I know. I have no interest in buying anything from you." Needless to say, I was stunned and horrified by his reaction. It had never occurred to me that shyness could be mistaken for arrogance. While shyness and arrogance are worlds apart, the visible manifestation of each can appear the same. People generally do not give others the benefit of the doubt in this regard. Don't risk being taken as haughty or pretentious by keeping silent. It can cost you dearly. Start small talking and let others see your personality. You know how much you appreciate the effort others put effort in conversation. Make the same effort. Contrary to what your elders taught you, silence is not golden. Good things come to those who go get them. Waiting will net you a bunch of lost time. You have to take the initiative. Don't spend another minute thinking that if you keep this waiting, interesting people will introduce themselves. It's never going to happen. Out of habit and to make things easy on ourselves, we seek out someone we know, a colleague, a client, even a competitor. We are comfortable with these people because they attend the same function, know the same jargon, and trying to reach the same decision makers. We end up paying $40 to attend an event and then seek out people we already know because it's less threatening. Yet the purpose of the event was to make a new contact. If ever there was a place you would expect people to mingle, it's a singles event. Yet they are notorious for attracting wallflowers. Most people at singles event, including myself in a former life, spend most of their time uncomfortably waiting around and scanning the crowd for a friend. When a friend appears, they immediately spend the evening hanging out together. If they wanted to be with each other, why didn't they just go out on a date? If they don't want to date each other, what are they doing spending the evening together? They're talking. Yes, talking. It's easy, comfortable, and safe. It is, however, no way to meet someone new and spark a romance. Good things come to those who take action and start creating good things. American movie star, commentator, the folk legend Will Rogers nailed it when he said, "Go out on a limb. That's where all the fruit is." Although it might be scary to climb out from the safety of the trunk, he will rarely pluck the sweet fruit by waiting there. It's up to you to start a conversation. Do you know the biggest social fear in America? It's the public speaking. And do you know the second? It's the fear of starting a conversation with a stranger. So remember, when you walk into a luncheon or a cocktail party, most people there are scared to death to talk to you. Fear of rejection keeps many of us from risking conversation, but the probability of rejection is actually quite small. In the unlikely event that your efforts are unappreciated, remember that it's doubtful you will ever see that person again. You will be the hero if you start a conversation. You will gain stature, respect, reward if you can get the conversation going. Almost always people will embrace your effort and appreciate your leadership and friendship. It's up to you to assume the burden of conversation. If you continually wait for someone else to take the initiative in a conversation, you have been self-centered. It's true. You have allowed your own comfort to take precedence over every other person's. You haven't been doing your fair share of the work. If you have largely ignored your conversational responsibility, it's time to take ownership. You cannot rely on the other person to carry the conversation for you. A monologue is the chore for and seldom very interesting. Furthermore, one word answering to questions do not count as shouldering your share of the burden. The first step is becoming a good conversationalist is becoming invested in the conversation and actively working to have the other person feel comfortable. Take a look at the list of icebreaker questions that follow and make a commitment to use at least 4 of them in your next conversation. If you are afraid if you won't remember them, write them down. Put them in your pocket and refer to them before you go into the event. If you go blank while you are there, excuse yourself for a moment and walk into the restroom to take a peek at your list. The most famous and worn out icebreaker is the age-old questions. What do you do for a living? It's so standard that it didn't make the icebreaker list. Here are some other ways to begin a conversation that will provide a refreshing diversion from shop talk. You will never ask them all, just the ones that seem appropriate for the particular conversation and time, and be prepared to reciprocate since your conversation partner is likely to return whatever questions you pose. Business icebreakers. 1. Describe a typical day on the job. Number 2. How did you come up with this idea? Number 3. What got you started in this industry or area of practice? Number 4. What got you interested in marketing, research, or teaching? Number 5. What do you enjoy most about your profession? Number 6. What separates you and your firm from your competitions? Number 7. Why does your company blah blah blah? Number 8. Describe some of the challenges of your profession. Number 9. What do you see as the coming trends in your business? Number 10. What ways have you found to be most effective for promoting your business? Number 11. Describe your most important work experience. 12. What advice would you give someone just starting in your business? 13. What one thing would you do if you knew you could not fail? 14. What significant changes have you seen take place in your business since your start? 15. Describe the strangest incident you have experienced in your business. 16. What was the best job you ever had and what was the worst? 17. What's the most difficult part of your job? 18. How has the internet impacted your work or profession? 19. Do you know someone who can help me? Blah blah blah. You can fill the blank. Number 20. Describe how the economy or election or summer impacts your work. About social or general icebreakers. 1. What do you think of the movie, restaurant, or a party? Number 2. Tell me about the best vacation you have ever taken. Number 3. What's your favorite thing to do on a rainy day? 4. If you could replay any moment in your life, what would it be? Number 5. What one thing would you really like to own and why? Number 6. Tell me about one of your favorite relatives. 7. What was it like in the town where you grew up? Number 8. What would you like to come back as you in your next life? 9. Tell me about your kids. 10. What do you think is the perfect age and why? 11. What is a typical day like for you? 12. Of all the places you have lived, tell me about the one you like the best. 13. What's your favorite holiday? What do you enjoy about it? 14. What are some of your family traditions that you particularly enjoy? 15. Tell me about the first car you ever bought. 16. How has the internet affected your life? 17. Who were your idols as a kid and have they changed? 18. Describe a memorable teacher you had. 19. Tell me about a movie or book you have seen or read more than once. 20. What's your favorite restaurant and why? 21. Tell me why you were named blah blah blah. Fill the blank by your name. What is the origin of your last name? 22. Tell me about a place you have visited that you hope never to return to. 23. What's the best surprise you have ever received? 24. What's the neatest surprise you have ever planned and pulled off for someone else? 25. Skiing here is always challenging. What are some of your favorite places to ski? 26. Who would star as you in a movie about your life and why that person? 27. Who is the most famous person you have met? 28. Tell me about some of your New Year's resolution. 29. What's the most anti-establishment thing you have ever done? 30. Describe a custom that you wore to a party. 31. Tell me about the political position you would like to hold. 32. What song reminds you of an incident in your life? 33. What's the most memorable meal you have eaten? 34. What's the most unforgettable coincidence you have experienced or heard before? 35. How are you able to tell if the melon is ripe? 36. What motion picture star would you like to interview and why? 37. Tell me about your family. 38. What aroma brings forth a special memory? 39. Describe the scariest person you ever met. 40. What's your favorite thing to do alone? 41. Tell me about a childhood friend who used to get you in trouble. 42. Tell me about a time when you had too much to eat or drink. 43. Describe your first away from home living quarters or experience. 44. Tell me about a time that you lost a job. 45. Share a memory of one of your grandparents. 46. Describe an embarrassing moment you have had. 47. Tell me something most people would never guess about you. 48. What would you do if you won $1 million? 49. Describe your ideal weather and why. The last is 50. How did you learn to ski, hang, drive, wall, or play piano? 3. Take the plunge. Start a conversation. You are armed with a pocket full of icebreaker. You know that if someone greets you, you have got some great material for a conversation. Just having a topic in mind to talk about goes a long way toward improving your skills. However, there are still a few gaps that can give you the needless heart palpitation. Right now, you only feel prepared to respond when someone else engages you in conversation. So, you walk into your son's school and wait for another parent to say hello. You go to an industry dinner and try to act busy while you hope for a colleague to come along and talk. No. It does not need to be so stressful. Matt McGraw, an information services manager in Denver, described how a situation was made less stressful because of its initiation of small talk. When I was much younger, 19 or 20, attending the University of Oregon, I worked part-time for a couple of years at the local hospital. My job title was prep tech, and my role was to prepare a male surgical patient for surgery, which included shaving them. As you can imagine, this was a difficult job for me as well. As the patient, I began my workday at 4:30 a.m., so it was usually very early when I was prepping my first patient. I would spend as much as an hour or more with the job, and the saving itself was difficult and physically uncomfortable. The patients were hungry, oftentimes in pain, and weirded out of bed having another man shave them. Many were very sick, facing mortal fears, and often required shaving a person 100% from chin to ankle. Hopefully, I painted the situation as difficult, but I soon discovered that everything would go 1,000 times better if I engaged them in small talk. I found that they relaxed, that the time went by much faster if I could draw them out of the moment. We didn't talk about their health, or their fears, or political or sport, but just general, easy stuff like where they live, what it was there like, where they were from originally, things like that. I totally agree with you about the power of small talk. It's not about an agenda, but it's simply a way to acknowledge a person as being very real and there. In the end, I suspect my patient talked to me more than they had a chance to talk to all of their doctors and nurses put together. It was an interesting job. You can start the conversation, yes, you. It's not nearly as hard as you think. And the best part is that it puts you in the charge of your own destiny. Instead of waiting for someone or anyone to talk to you, you choose to your conversation partner. What a concept. You get to select someone. You might even enjoy it. The rules are simple. When someone gives you a smile, you are naturally inclined to smile back. Be the first to smile, greet another person. That's pretty easy. Just a smile and a few words, and it's done. But be sure that you make eye contact. That simple act is the beginning of establishing rapport. In those few seconds, you have shown an interest in the other person. However, if the thought of this makes you want to jump into bed and pull the cover over your head, practice flashing your pearly whites in the setting of that require nothing more. Walk through the mall and just say hello to 10 people as you pass them. If you cut through the parking lot into the grocery store, greet 3 other shoppers, keep practicing until it feels natural. My friend Barb took a leap out of her professional comfort zone to run for the city council. She's a natural at small talk anyway, but she did for something very important during her campaign. At public forum, the other candidate will enter the room, find their place on the dais, and sit down to review their notes or prepare answers to anticipated questions. But Barb will bingo with the people in the audience, making personal connection with as many as possible. She discovered that the best way to get people comfortable enough to open up and express themselves was to look them in the eye and ask what's your name, making eye contact and placing the emphasis on your rather than the word name, signaled to the person that they were important. She never failed to make a connection when she used this approach. What's in a name? Okay, now you actually do have to stay and talk, not just over a pacing hello. Making a point to remember the other person's name, learning and using name is probably the single most important rule of good conversation. To stay focused during the introduction, repeat the name back in your greeting. Nice to meet you, Deborah. To help yourself commit the name to memory, immediately use the person's name in the conversation. Refrain from thinking about your replay and concentrate on the other person's name. Focus on the name, repeat it, and then formulate your answer. If you do get distracted during the introduction and miss the name, confess. Don't go through the whole conversation pretending you know the person's name. It's better to say something like, "Excuse me, I'm not sure I got your name." It's always preferable to have the other party repeat it than to fake it. Never ever fake it. This is especially true if, for example, you run into someone you have met previously whose name you cannot recall as you are standing in line at the movie theater. Don't wait for the divine inspiration. Say, "I'm sorry, I'm forgetting your name. Please remind me." This is a proactive tactic will prevent impending disaster. For instance, you have forgotten your client's name and in the midst of conversation your boss advances your name. How will you introduce your boss to your client if you don't know your client's name? Never put off requesting a name reminder before moving on to chatting, or you will regret it. The worst is the gambler, who approaches with a sure bet. "I will bet you don't remember my name." As I am not inclined to increase the ante, I fold immediately and ask to be reminded. You no longer have to worry about avoiding people because you have forgotten their names. Assume the burden, tell the truth, and change you are you will go on to have a pleasant conversation. Even if you are on the other side of a crowded room or passing in the grocery store, go over and greet the person. If you avoid someone because you are impressed over having forgotten her name, you have just compounded the error with rudeness. Individuals with a foreign or unusual names get slighted more than the rest of us. Make it a point to learn the proper pronunciation, even if it means that the other person repeats it a few times. When you take the time to learn another person's name, you are expressing a sincere interest in that individual that will be warmly received. And conversely, if you get lazy because a person has a difficult name, you are sending a message that is not worth your trouble to learn his name. Remembering names is well worth the effort. In fact, learning names is a part of hosting the conversation. A host is always expected to know and use every person's name, since the host is responsible for making introduction. As a new individual entered the conversation, I was seated at a table for 8 and met 3 people who had arrived at the table before I did. As the other arrived, I extended my hand, introduced myself, and made the other introduction to the other 3. I said, "This is Linda with Sun Microsystem, and John with Johnny and Sam from Association of Safety Engineers." Acting as the host puts everyone at ease and creates an atmosphere of warmth and appreciation that naturally encourages conversation. It also positions you as a leader. 4. Keep the conversation going. Remember, instead of sitting back and waiting for another kind of soul to start the conversation, take the lead. Think of it as if you invited that person to your home for dinner. As host, it's your job to see that your guest is comfortable. The same is true in conversation. Try to make your guest as comfortable as possible when you walk into a party or a gathering. Find a person to meet. It's much easier to engage one person rather than enter a group conversation, so begin by looking for the approachable person. The approachable person is the one who makes eye contact with you or who is not actively engaged in a conversation or another activity such as reading a newspaper or working at a computer. It's the solitary person getting a bite to eat. Someone sitting alone at the table, or the one crossing the room escorted. More often than not, these people are relieved to have someone else initiate the conversation. Believe me, I've been around plenty of these folks. They are intelligent, interesting, welcoming, and shy. They are in the same spot you were before you decide to improve your skill. If you take the conversational plunge, they will herald you as a savior. Make it a point to look around a room when you first enter it. It doesn't matter what the event is, a meeting, a reception, a baby shower, a party, even a family reunion. There are people standing alone or sitting at an empty table. Don't wait, make eye contact and be the first to smile. You will net a smile back and you will put the other person at ease. The way any fine host would, people will reward you by being attentive listener and giving you a chance to practice your icebreaker. Not only an icebreaker, a good way to start a conversation, but some of the statements are accompanied by questions you ask us to keep the ball rolling. Don't use a statement alone. Using a statement by itself is like lobbing the conversational ball blindfolded, not knowing where it will land or whether it will get tossed back. For example, enthusiastic exclamation like "What a beautiful day" or "That was so great," blah blah blah, are indirect invitation to chat. Better to be direct so there is no doubt you are starting a dialogue. Try this, starting with a statement. What a beautiful day. What's your favorite season of the year? I was truly touched by the movie. How did you like it? And why? This is a wonderful restaurant, right? What is your favorite restaurant? And why you choose that? What a great conference! Tell me about the session you attended. I was absent last week. What did I miss? That was an interesting program after lunch. What did you think? Presidential campaign seems to start immediately after the inauguration. What do you think of the campaign process? I'm so frustrated with getting this business off the ground. Do you have any ideas? I am excited about our new mayor. How do you think her administration will be different from her predecessors? Your lawn always looks so green. What is your secret? We have been working together for months now. I would like to get to know you better. Tell me about some of your outside interests. You work pretty hard on that these days, but what other equipment do you use? You always wear such attractive clothes. What are your favorite shoe stores? What a beautiful home. How do you manage to run a house with your children? I read in the newspaper that our governor has taken on another trip overseas. What do you think of all his travel? Easy openers. Like most things that are unfamiliar, starting a conversation appears harder than it actually is. If you still feel uncertain, listen to this true story. A national news show put a hidden microphone on a gentleman and set him loose at a party. His mission was to start as many conversations with women as possible using the ridiculous icebreaker, "Hi, what's your sign?" Here we are in a new millennium and he was using that infamous 1970s line and it worked. He walked up to a woman, smiled, spoke his sign. She responded by saying, "Taurus, what's yours?" He answered with Libra. "Do you know much about astrology?" They went on to have a very interesting conversation. The moral of the story is that it's the info that counts. What matters is taking the plunge and starting the conversation. This gentleman was successful because he showed an interest in what the other person had to say and she was open to it. Showing genuine interest is flattering and essential to conversing. If you are interested in how I lost 65 pounds or how I started my business or anything else about me, I feel special. I also think positively about you and want to continue talking with you. The more interest you show in me, the more interesting you become to me. This simple act of truly being interested in the other person has an amazing effect on the conversation. It just snowballs. You will be successful if you just take the initiative and give it a try. You will be surprised by how easy it is and add the positive reinforcement you get from people when you start a conversation. Remember the following 4 steps and you are well on your way to an excellent chat. Make eye contact, smile, find an approachable person, offer your name and use theirs. Give it a try. You will discover that it's really worthwhile. The true effort is taking the risk to be the first to say hello. There is no perfect icebreaker. What's your sign? Is this your choice as an icebreaker? As silly as it was, it worked because the woman decided she would, although the man to engage in the conversation. Think about it. We all do that. We size someone up, determine if we are in the mood to chat, and gauge whether it is worth our investment of time. The person being approached have already decided on their willingness to respond regardless of the word says. Often, people make the huge mistake of assuming they will have nothing in common with another person. We easily allow differences of all kinds to bias us against engaging in conversation. We allow gender, ethnicity, social status, generation, occupation, lifestyle, and house of other differences to create artificial barriers to success. In the course of touring the country and talking to thousands of people in every geographic region, from all walks of life, I have affirmed that we are all more alike than we are different. It's simply a matter of talking, showing an interest, and listening. When I approach a conversation, I'm slowly peeling an onion, just one layer at a time, and I'm always amazed and gratified by how interesting and worthwhile it is to take the time to talk with a stranger. At one of the first programs I presented, I asked everyone to introduce himself or herself and tell why they came to a session of small talk. The first person to introduce himself was a gentleman named Bob. He said he was attending because he was a Motorola customer service engineer and his boss wanted him to improve his conversational skill with customers. He added that although his boss sent him to the station, he was glad because he would just move to the very small town of Elizabeth, Colorado. As a single man alone, he felt isolated and wanted to meet people. Here is what followed. Deborah, Elizabeth, Colorado Bob. I used to live in Elizabeth. I lived next to Douglas County line near to town of Parker. Are you there or closer to the town of Elizabeth itself? Bob. No, I live near Parker as well in the development called Pedrosa Park Estates. Deborah. Pedrosa Park Estates? Wow, Bob, I used to live there too. I live right near Pedrosa Line and Overlook Road. Bob. Well, Deborah, I live on the Overlook Road. Deborah. That's amazing, Bob. I live in the log house at 120 Overlook Road. Bob. Well, Deborah, this is truly amazing because I live in the log house at 120 Overlook Road. It turns out that when the family to whom my ex-husband and I sold the home in 1985 moved, they sold it to Bob because of the change in country and because I took an interest in the fact that Bob was from Elizabeth. Bob invited me to bring my family to see the house again. I was delighted if we visited Bob at his house, and my kids got a chance to experience a part of their own history that would otherwise have been lost to them since they were too young to remember having lived there. Make the effort and you'll be richly rewarded. You have a jumbo-sized list of icebreaker to get you started, and what's your sign? It's not even on it. Breaking in is hard to do. You have finally gotten up enough nerve to go speak to that one person you are most determined to meet, but he is busy chatting away with someone else. How do you break in? Well, the polite thing to do would be to wait until you get noticed. Sometimes the conversation can be so engrossing that you will never be granted an audience unless you take the initiative. In the meantime, you feel a little foolish just attending alone in the presence of these two people who are fully occupied with each other. And the best approach I have found for breaking in is a throwback by Bayesian dances. In a gentler era, when a man wanted to dance with a woman, but she already had a dance partner, all the man had to do was politely tap their dance partner on the shoulder, and the partner will relinquish his turn with the movement. When you approach a dancing couple, wait politely for an interval and turn to the person you have not decided to speak with and ask for permission to introduce so that you may speak with his or her conversation partner. Most people are too gracious to say no and will give you their permission. You have smoothly maneuvered yourself into a position of attention with the audience of your choice, and you have done it skillfully and politely. Another option that is less intrusive is to excuse yourself for interruption, not think that you wanted to let the person know you were in attendance and wanted an opportunity to gather together before the evening was over. You will either be included at the point or instead search out at a later time. Either way, the person knows you made the effort to touch base. Party of 5. It's tough for a conversation office to break into a two-person chat, let alone a group of 5 or more. A group this size is usually well entrenched and it requires cooperation to infiltrate. Use this tactic when you find it necessary or desirable to get engaged with these folks. Show interest in the speaker but stand slightly away from the group. Ease into the group by demonstrating that you have been listening. Look for welcoming signs such as them asking your opinion or physically shifting position to better include you. Initially, it is best to find a point of agreement, bearing that just acknowledge the speaker. Wait before rocking the boat with a big wave of radical opinion. Before offering your view, let the group warm you to you. If you come on too strong too fast, the group will resent your intrusion and disband. Then you have to start all over again, looking to chat with someone you haven't just offended. Number 5. Let's give them something to talk about. You have smiled, made eye contact, found the approachable person, offered your name and used theirs. What's left? You ask. Plenty. Have no fear. This is where it really gets fun. If you are introverted, you will love this part because you stay on the quiet side. Your mission is to get your conversation partner talking about themselves. Most people enjoy the opportunity to share their stories. And if you give them the chance, they will start talking. This is a no-brainer route to small talking success. It's all in the asking. By asking open-ended question, you offer your conversation partner the opportunity to disclose as much or as little as you want. These questions demand more than a simple yes or no answer, yet they make no stressful demand. Your partner will decide how much she feels comfortable saying. Such questions are effective with coworkers, kids, neighbors, in-laws, industry colleagues, friends, and when first making the acquaintance of the stranger. The key to successfully using open-ended question is choosing the right question and then following up with another if it's needed. For instance, let's take the toughest conversation partner of all, school-age kids. They make it so difficult to have a conversation. It's almost an oxymoron to consider them conversation partner, not less. Because they are kids, I give them the benefit of the doubt and hone my skill with my own two kids, and I know I haven't lost my age when I get them engaged in a meaningful dialogue. My kids come through the door at the end of the day and I ask, how was your day at school? In the stereo, I get back fine. Instead of considering that a dead end, I follow up with another question and inquire, what did you like about it today? My teenage son usually says, I don't know. I'll look him right in the eye and tell him, really? Tell me about one class you liked today. He thinks about it for a minute, finally says, science, and I inquire, what did you look about the science? He launched into a colorful description of an experiment they did, and we are talking. The bottom line is that you have to open it and you have to show you truly care. Open-ended questions such like, describe for me blah blah blah. Tell me about blah blah blah. How did you blah blah blah? What was that like for you? What brought you to blah 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 and why? Digging deeper. Every Monday in offices across the country, people ask each other, how was your weekend? That questions most often nets a one sentence reply akin to good. How about yours? Before reply is even uttered, you are 10 steps down to how. What's the message? That you really were not interested? You were just saying hello. How was your vacation? How was your holiday? How is work? How are you? And what's going on? How have you been? These everyday inquiries are just a few other ways of saying hello. It's almost universally understood that these questions are a form of greeting, not a sincere inquiry. Only in America and most other cultures and countries, how are you really means how are you. It would be considered rude to ask that question and not expect an answer. Most of the time, the conversation ends immediately after a brief exchange. I ask my husband, Steve, how was your day? He replies, great. The conversation evaporates, not because there was no place to go with it, but because of a lack of a follow-up. My husband does not think I really care about his day unless I ask more. I invite the conversation by saying, what made it so great? What went on for you today? The following script illustrates the conversation mired in a rut of cliches. Hi John, how are you today? I'm feeling pretty blue. Well John, keep your chin up. I think I may get laid off. Good jobs are few and far between. Do you think I should start looking for a new job right away? If you don't leave a finger, you could be out in the cold, perhaps not even able to bring home a bacon, much less keep body and soul together, and wouldn't that be fine, kettle of fish? What do you think of the best approach would be? Looking through the Sunday classified ads? Sure, take the bull by the horns, put your best foot forward the face, then the music. You are the babe in the woods, and you are not getting any younger. If you go at it, you might get more averse than you can shake a stick at. Whenever you begin a dialogue with a question, get ready to dig deeper so that the other person knows you are interested in hearing more. Digging in deeper indicates you truly desire more responsible and are prepared to invest time in hearing the response. Here are some suggestions. How was your summer? Excellent. What special thing did you do? How were your holidays? Pretty good. How did you celebrate? How was your weekend? Good. What did you do? I went to see that new play down at the Civic Center. Really? You are interested in blah blah blah? I never knew that. Tell me more about that. Did you do anything relaxing? Is that something you usually do on a weekend? With direct queries, a conversation with a coworker about the weekend can occupy an entire cup of coffee. The key is to have a genuine interest in what the other person is saying, along with a genuine desire to hear the response. So while you get to be quiet, you do not get to be passive. You must actively participate in the conversation. Suppose, however, you call a customer or your boss, and the conversation is as follows when you ask about the weekend. How was your weekend? Great. Tell me about it. Well, we spent some time working in the garden. That was about it. Now about this proposal. You should recognize that the other person has steered the conversation back to business. That's a signal that the person does not want to chat at the moment. Respect the switches by switching into business mode. Here are some other examples of digging deeper into conversation. You ask, how have you been? And get the reply, busy. Follow-up responses could include, how do you deal with being busy? What is going on that's got you so busy? Describe a busy day for you. Do you like being busy? There seems to be a cycle of busyness during your years. Do you remember a time in your life when you were not as busy? Are you asked, isn't this weather terrible? And receive the reply, it sure is. You might respond with this, how terrible does it get in this part of the country? What is your idea of an ideal climate? How does bad weather affect you? Have you lived anywhere else with terrible weather? What brought you here? I received this note from a director-level executive at a large aerospace corporation demonstrating the benefit of digging deeper. He relates how he emailed a college about her recent job promotion. How's the new job? He replied, pretty good. Instead of accepting the brief reply, he emailed her back, I'm really interested. How has it been for you? This got him a detailed email response about the pitfalls and challenges of her new position. Of course, it's much easier to ask appropriate open-ended questions of people you know than those who you are just meeting. Use discretion when meeting new people. Asking a difficult question could put the other person in an awkward position. And likewise, sometimes when we are asking open-ended questions, we really are asking questions that require only a one or two word answer. Here are some new ways to ask old favorites. Instead of asking, are you married? Try this. Tell me about your family. Instead of asking, what do you do for a living? Try this. Tell me about your business or work. Instead of asking, do you have a kids? Try this. Tell me about your family. What's your favorite hobby? Try this. Tell me about your favorite hobby. How was your weekend? Try this. What was the best part of your weekend? What went on for you this weekend? When you need to mingle at an industry function or take a client to lunch, prepare yourself for the event by selecting some business-related question to ask. Free for the taking. If you are an astute observer, you will discover that your smart talking cohort is giving you a wealth of free information you can use to keep a conversation going. Sources of free information include answer to open-ended questions. When you invite someone to tell you about his family or her job, you will receive additional free information that you can use to further the conversation. Suppose you ask me, Deborah, how is it that you work in the product planning for AT&T? And I say, I was in R&D in Buffalo, New York, where I am from, and I hated it. I hated being an engineer. They don't even make pocket protector for women. So I asked to be transferred anywhere. They brought me to Denver to work in product planning. I have lots of free information. I am from Buffalo. I was in R&D, research and development, and I hated being an engineer. You can choose any of the free information to find out more about what interests you the most. You could facilitate the conversation by asking any one of a dozen questions, including, are the winters in Buffalo really as hot as they say? Why didn't you like being an engineer? Would it have made it different in your career if there had been pocket protector for women? What did it like to do R&D for a corporation like AT&T? Was it tough living with a personal supervisor? Where did you study engineers? Appearance. Lapel pins and jewelry. The man behind me in line at the bakery was wearing a lapel pin on his suit, and I asked him about it and found out that he's in a local Rotary Club from the inauspicious beginning. We had a great conversation. I shared with him that I was a Rotarian as well. Theme apparel and other logo-identified clothing, accessories, water bottle, and clipboard are a great conversation status. Be observant for a new hairdo, a book or magazine, a child's work, or a cast of a broken limb, and some options. It looks like you might be a fan of the Denver Broncos. What do you think of their season? I know that you're wearing a shirt from London Hard Rock. Have you been there? What did you think of it? I see that you run the race for the cure. What other races have you run? Office and home decoration are small tech opportunities waiting to happen. Fail-safe questions for every business function. How did you get started in your business? How did you come up with this idea? What got you interested in business function or job industry? What happened first? Tell me what you enjoy most about your profession. What separates your firm from the competitions? Describe some of the challenges of your profession. And what will be the current trend in your business? Tell me about your most important work experience. What advice would you give someone just starting out in your business? What one thing would you do if you knew for sure that you couldn't fail? And what significant changes have you seen since you started in the field? What is the most bizarre incident that you have ever experienced in your business? How has the internet impacted your business? How about your profession as a whole? Location, location, and occasion. The location and occasion offer an even offer a wide variety of free information. At a wedding, I was the bride's college roommate. How do you know the couple? At a seminar or convention, simply asking what brought you to this event is an easy and unobtrusive way to start a conversation. As I took leave of a seminar, I had thought I had the elevator for a man coming down the hall. I usually don't small talk on elevator because of the limited time, but on the whim I used the free information I had, which was that I knew there were two classrooms on that floor. Since the man had not been in my class, it was a pretty good guess that he would come from the other, and I asked him, were you here for a class? He told me he would attend a book writing class. It turns out that I was speaking with Harry McLean, best-selling author and teacher of the course. We continue our conversation outside of the elevator, and I have a new friend. He even agreed to speak to my book club about his most recent book, Once Upon a Time. And one of the reasons I love small talk is that you just never know who you will meet or where it will lead. Behavior. If you are observant, you will get a lot of free information from a people's behavior. The way they speak and write can overuse small talk starters. Notice if they are left-handed, you can inquire, is it challenging being left-handed? What pet peeves do you have about it? Does the person have an accent? If so, you might say, I thought I heard an accent. What part of the country or world are you from? Or what brought you here? Or what do you miss the most about where you are from? What do you enjoy about your new home? I enter my local FedEx office with efficiency in mind. After all, that's why I'm there. I want to get in and get out. The very fact that I require the services of FedEx is free information that I am in a hurry. I've got a present delivery. However, as I watched the clerk complete the forms, I was struck by the beautiful handwriting of the this left-handed woman. I completed her with a statement and not a question. And unfortunately, she responded as though it were an inquiry. I got the whole story of how she used to be a teacher and had purposefully perfected her handwriting, and she moved to Arizona, got divorced, remarried, and moved to Colorado. I could not get her to understand that I was in a hurry. She was still talking as I backed out of the door. That is what I call an unintended icebreaker. It goes to show you that the slightest interest in someone is often all it takes to get a conversation going, even the one-sided kind. Fake it till you make it. Now that you are becoming small talk savvy, practice the fundamental. Can you recall 5 surefire questions to use in a business setting? Can you name half a dozen sources of free information? Scout your current location right now. What do you see that will make a good conversational material? You will become skilled at small talk the same way you have improved in the other activities. Practice. It's not difficult. High school geometry was much harder than this. All you need to do is practice little by little. It will give your conversation partner plenty to talk